In Mammoth Cave, 1894, by John Burroughs. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. In Mammoth Cave. Some idea of the impression which Mammoth Cave makes upon the senses, irrespective even of sight, may be had from the fact that blind people go there to see it, and are greatly struck with it. I was assured that this is a fact. The blind seem as much impressed by it as those who have their sight. When the guide pauses at the more interesting point, or lights the scene up with a great torch or with Bengal lights, and points out the more striking features, the blind exclaim, "How wonderful! How beautiful!" They can feel it if they cannot see it. They get some idea of the spaciousness when words are uttered. The voice goes forth in these colossal chambers like a bird. When no word is spoken, the silence is of a kind never experienced on the surface of this earth. It is so profound and abysmal. This and the absolute darkness, to a person with eyes, makes him feel as if he were face to face with a primordial nothingness. The objective universe is gone, only the subjective remains. The sense of hearing is inverted, and reports only the murmurs from within. The blind miss much, but much remains to them. The great cave is not merely a spectacle to the eye, it is a wonder to the ear, a strangeness to the smell and to the touch. The body feels the presence of unusual conditions through every pore. For my part, my thoughts took a decidedly sepulchral turn. I thought of my dead and of all the dead of the earth, and said to myself, the darkness and the silence of their last resting place is like this. To this we must all come at last. No vicissitudes of earth, no changes of seasons, no sound of storm or thunder penetrate here. Winter and summer, day and night, peace or war, it is all one. A world beyond the reach of change, because beyond the reach of life. What peace, what repose, what desolation! The marks and relics of the Indian, which disappear so quickly from the light of day above, are here beyond the reach of natural change. The imprint of his moccasin in the dust might remain undisturbed for 1,000 years. At one point the guide reaches his arm beneath the rocks that strew the floor, and pulls out the burnt ends of canes used, when probably filled with oil or grease, by the natives to light their way into the cave, doubtless centuries ago. Here in the loose soil are ruts worn by cartwheels in 1812, when, during the war with Great Britain, the earth was leached to make saltpeter. The guide kicks corncobs out of the dust where the oxen were fed at noon, and they look nearly as fresh as ever they did. In those frail corncobs, and in those wheel tracks, as if the carts had but just gone along, one seemed to come very near to the youth of the century, almost to overtake it. At a point in one of the great avenues, if you stop and listen, you hear a slow, solemn ticking, like a great clock in a deserted hall. You hear the slight echo as it fathoms and sets off the silence. It is called the clock, and is caused by a single large drop of water falling every second into a little pool. A ghostly kind of clock there in the darkness, that is never wound up and that never runs down. It seemed like a mockery where time is not, and change does not come, the clock of the dead. This somber and mortuary cast of one's thoughts seems so natural in the great cave, that I could well understand the emotions of a lady who visited the cave with a party a few days before I was there. She went forward very reluctantly from the first. The silence and darkness of the huge mausoleum evidently impressed her imagination, so that when she got to the spot where the guide points out the giant's coffin, a huge fallen rock which in the dim light takes exactly the form of an enormous coffin, her fear quite overcame her, and she begged piteously to be taken back. Timid, highly imaginative people, especially women, are quite sure to have a sense of fear in this strange underground world.